Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Field of Dreams on ACTN. I'm Steve David and I'm your host. And don't forget, Field of Dreams, we talk about football past, present, and future, and in Trinidad and Tobago. And today I have a star-studded panel as usual, who will discuss. We had a press conference this past week, with the state of football in Trinidad and Tobago, and they have a lot of plans ahead. And I've got my panel here who's going to help me break it down. Waste no time in the introduction. This one was born in Port of Spain, live in Port of Spain, moved to South, and never want to leave after that. Alvin Henderson. Welcome to the set, Alvin.
Always great to be here. One of these days, I'll really tell you my story.
Good to have you. And next to Alvin, born in La Brea, grew up in La Brea, and never will leave La Brea. Welcome to the set.
Thank you, Steve. I'm not in La Brea on this show, so I left La Brea to come do the show.
Oh, you did? Okay. And the next guy, I don't know where he was born. I don't know where he grew up, but Jefferson George. Jefferson, where you grew up?
Princeton.
Welcome to the set.
I'm a town of Princeton, and it's always a pleasure to be here.
Okay. Okay, guys. I think everybody has heard this press conference this past week. And it looked like there's a group of guys who's trying to do something positive for our country football. I think we've hit rock bottom. Do you? And if not, I want you to tell me why you don't think we hit rock bottom.
Well, let me start off by saying the press conference itself was, to me, an impressive conference because of the people who were there and spoke in unison about the state of football in Trinidad and Tobago. I was impressed with the panel that Keith assembled together, presidents of the Northern Association, Central Association, also the president of the secondary schools, the president of the Women's League, and the past president of the association itself, Mr. Ttfa. And they all spoke in unison, and which was backed up by three prominent former footballers, two ex-national male players, Jack and Shaka Hislop, and one ex-female player, Atin Johnson. It was all backed up by the fact that they've all felt that we, if not have reached rock bottom, there is a real call at present now for us to, in unison, to turn around our football. And I think that was the message that I took away from the press conference, that it was a unifying call from people all around, various people in prominent roles around Trinidad and Tobago, calling for a change in what is happening now, because we all seem to be heading in the last few years in a downward direction.
All right, well, yeah. Information came out of that press conference that would have been news to the majority of the football public of Trinidad and Tobago. What was not news to any of us is the state of football in Trinidad presently, reflected by our results at the Gold Cup. And I think emotions are still running very high out of those results, so that the timing of that press conference, I think, was strategic, because I think they wanted to use the massive dissatisfaction of the public of Trinidad and Tobago to highlight some of the reasons as to why they think, being in the positions that they hold, as to why the performance of the senior team and is reflected in the results of the Gold Cup. And in addition to that, the state of football, because the information that came out of the press conference transcended the senior team. They did the colleges league, they did all the youth teams and comparative results over a period of time. So the information informed the public as to what's really taking place on the business side of the football at all levels. And I'm sure the information that was disbursed added to the dissatisfaction of the public in that they now have additional info or data to work with, rather than just the result of the senior team that we just saw on our television, which was, you know, we all know what that did to our emotions and so forth. I'm not happy to be sitting here as to the state of football in Trinidad, but nevertheless, that's the reality of it. And something has to give, because the only losers in a situation that we are in now are the footballers of Trinidad and Tobago, starting from all the age groups that have been discussed. And I know we will ventilate more as we go along.
Yes. Well, I would have to agree with the other members of the panel on the press conference. Alvin said he was impressed, and I think I was likewise, right? Not so much because you had somebody coming out saying some things like we would normally have after a big event. It wasn't the situation where you have an individual, you know, throwing stones at a coach or at an administration because of any one particular thing, but I thought that the way it was laid out in terms of giving you statistics in terms of what was the results then, what is the results now, and this is dealing with on-the-field issues, right? They also went on to some of the situations that we have in the administrative side. And even better than that, there was a timeline given for the group, you know, coming out back to the public with some type of way forward come September, I believe it is. So that is something that I'm even more looking forward to. As I said, the thing that I was most impressed about, it was, as Keith himself said, it was a united front. It wasn't a situation where an individual is picking an issue with a coach or an administration. I thought that that method was a very mature response to what is an obvious crisis in our football today.
You know, Keith Lucloy, I am impressed with him for his efforts because, you know, he, like he said, he loves football and he wants to see things go right. People mightn't like him for whatever way, you know, he's straight up kind of guy. You tell it as it is. And if you don't like it, well, hey, tough. And I think him getting down and making this effort to put these guys together to come collectively and make this happen, I think it's a good idea. And I got to give Keith Lucloy some credit for being a man to stand up and say enough is enough.
I think one of the things that would give the conference credibility as well is when he stated that he would not run for any office, right? He was acting in the role of a facilitator for the conference, and that he would support whatever slate that would be put forward by the United Front, so to speak, you know. But I just said, love him or hate him, you know where he stands, right? And that was made clear at the conference.
Speaking about slate, do you think, or what you guys think, they're going to stand strong collectively all the way through this? Because I am worried about this, because they're going to select one person. In all the ones who want to run for president, there was about 3 guys there who wants to run for president, right? Are they going to really stand up and support the one individual that they select?
Yeah. Well, let me say here that if people really understand the constitution of the Ttfa and really realize what the role of a president should be, they will realize that in truth and in fact, that is not the role of the person who carries the most weight in the Ttfa for years. The person who carries perhaps the strength of the TFA and is like the CEO of the TFA is really the secretary.
Yeah,
the secretary is the key person.
That's right.
And the president is really a spokesman and a figurehead, and actually Mr. Tim Key, in his dissertation the other day, made it clear that the president is actually somebody who is working on behalf of the people who form the Ttfa. The secretary is the one who has the true weight, because the secretary acts like a CEO, especially in today's climate, and the secretary is the one who is actually organizing and has the strength of character and strength of decision making to be organizing several things at the same time. One of the problems that we've had recently is that we've had a strong president who has been involved in his club as a president and a strong president, and has not been able to move away to the Ttfa. The way that the Ttfa does things in a different way than if you were in a club structure. The Ttfa has much more democracy in its constitution than any club structure would have.
Right, and well, of course, Doc, you would be more intimate with the Constitution. So it's good that you informed us as to what the Constitution states and who it applies the different decision-making powers to. But gleaning out of the press conference, one of the gentlemen did highlight the Constitution and the powers it gives to different positions in the Ttfa, But I think the problem that most people have with the present structure of the Ttfa is, one, the lack of transparency, which came out of the press conference by some of the information that was disbursed from the different heads at the table, right? I think if the senior team was winning, a lot of the ills at the administrative levels could have been hidden behind results. But you cannot hide behind the results because the results have not been in our favor. Mm-hmm. So that you are seeing now all the cracks are being exposed. And I think the lack of transparency has just added to the dissatisfaction with the state of football in the country. And of course, it is headed by the present regime, that has not won over the football public, based mainly on the poor results of its representative team, and in some cases, the non-representation of teams at competitions. So we are hearing now out of this press conference some of the details that go on behind the scenes that is not known to us, the average supporter and follower the sport.
Yeah, Larry, just as I was saying that in the administrative side of the picture with the Ttfa, that the secretary is like the CEO. The technical director carries a very important role in the on-field preparation of teams and analyzing performances of teams after they go into battle, after they go into games. And we have had either a non-functioning technical director or a partially functioning technical director. In fact, to tell you the honest truth, as of right now, I cannot tell you if we have a technical director.
Or a technical team.
Or a properly functioning technical department. I heard it said in the press conference that we don't have, but I've heard otherwise, that there is a technical department, but it is not fully functional. And a technical department is very important in modern day football, because the technical department is responsible for overseeing the preparation of all your national teams, evaluating coaches, and also analyzing the performances and giving feedback and correcting the measures that may have led to poor results. If that is missing, then you're doomed to failure.
Yeah.
We need to take a break. Jefferson, when we come back, I'll let you have your say. Viewers, we'll be right back after a short break.
I have here a video message from Shaka Hislop.
Hi, this is Shaka Hislop. I'd like to add to the chorus of voices and of disapproval in the way our football has been progressing of late. There seems to be a dictatorial approach to all things concerning decisions made, a total disregard for voices and opinions of those who were elected and appointed into positions of prominence within our Ttfa board and supporting administration. I also take this opportunity to say that we are building a home of football is not a long-term plan. We are building a home of football is not an excuse for a lack of transparency. We are building a home of football does not disguise our poor performances on the pitch or, quite frankly, off it. I also fully recognize that a lot of our problems have been a long time in the making, but that dictatorial approach that got us into problems in the first place is not what will get us out. So please, let's take this opportunity to again go back to our Constitution, how it was redrafted, why it was redrafted, and the spirit in which it was, in the hope of moving our football forward by having a diversity of voices and opinions in making decisions in plotting our path forward.
Very good.
However, I have been in football for some time now, and what I see is a fragmented hierarchy. They say things that are so untrue. What it is are they afraid of? A gentleman asks to get the audited accounts. By golly, it's not yours. It's not my company. It's not his company. It's a national sports. Why it is we can't put those things on the table? Tell us what it is that is received from FIFA. Tell us what it is that we should have clear in our minds what we are going to get out of this. And also, if you come together with us and understand what we are talking about, you cannot run football on $15,000 or $25,000. It can't.
Okay, welcome back, viewers. Jefferson, I said I would let you put your 2 cents in.
Yes, Steve. Just to pick back up on the question as to whether this united front would stay united, I think it's a good question, and I think there's reason to believe that there is enough common interest for guys of this caliber to come together to get to this point where they can face the public as a group. I think that's a start, and I think this should create for us a model going forward where I always thought that our football is too fragmented for a country that is of our size, right? I mean, we need the majority persons on board. We have people with, different skill sets, different abilities. In this, just on this conference alone, you have a huge amount of experience and quality. Tony Harford's, William Wallace, Keith himself, who I've worked with. And if they can come together to present something, as I said, I'm excited about to see what they're going to put forward as a way forward for football, because we definitely need something. We need something to begin working towards, something that the public can be, enthused by, and something to get us back in the right track. Even the players themselves, you can see that there's a loss of purpose in and around the football at the moment. And I think if this group can remain united, not just for the ousting of our administration, but to create a way for us to do this going forward.
Alvin, you said like the secretary should be the head honcho, not in so many words. But I don't know who the secretary is. It's Ttfa because it's been overshadowed by the president.
Well, remember we had this big problem with Justin Latapy George being appointed secretary after Phillips.
Okay.
Sheldon Phillips was fired by Mr. Timke.
Right.
And then Justin Latapy George came in and overshadowed 2 administrations, which really the Constitution really does not speak to that, because usually a new president is supposed to walk in with his appointed secretary, who comes like a CEO,
Yeah.
Right.
and the CEO does the bulk of the work.
Right.
Jack Warner was never president at
That's
TNT.
right.
I've heard people say
That's right.
Jack Warner the president. Jack Warner was never
always general
in
secretary.
all the years. He was never the president of the TNTFE
That I know.
or TNTFF.
Never.
He was always secretary, and then he was advisor.
Right.
Now, one of the things that Jefferson talked about and you talked about is, will they stay together? If they don't stay together, there is no way that John Williams is not going to be president again with his group. Because if votes are split, and Keith Lookloy in his presentation started individualizing how the votes are counted and where he thought, or almost like Congress in the States, where he thought his votes were already lined up. And if they split, the votes will be split, and John Williams will have an easier passage to get back into his second term as a president.
Let me ask you guys a question. If you take yourself back as a player to present time, would you like to be a player in this time with all the stuff that's going on? How would you feel if you were a player?
With the present administration, the answer obviously would be no, because I would assume that I would be playing at the pro league level, at the elite level, and we're in July here, and those guys haven't kicked a competitive ball. So my product is to play football, and 7 months in the year I would not have played in a competition game under the pro league. So the answer has to be no, right? Just purely on that very narrow playing aspect of it, if I was to be a player. I mean, even from last year, what about prize money? I mean, the winners of the Pro League haven't been paid for how many years? You know, so I would not have enjoyed, and then I always make the comparison, how could I be a professional player? I am playing at the highest level of football in my country. I am playing in our stadiums, and there are more chairs than spectators. When I was playing, I don't know what it is not to have crowd watching me play. Our present Pro League players now, they don't know what it is to have crowd watching them play. There's 12 people in the stands, 25, if so much. No, I will not exchange my playing days to present. No way. I wouldn't give it up.
No, I think you touched on something very important. And to add to that, because they haven't played since last year, what's happening with the salaries now? And this is the most pertinent question, I think, because we look at them, they are footballers, but they are human beings. We expect, no, they're not getting salaries. Then when they go on your national duty, the stipends are not in place, where we get match fees issue. That's a real difficult place to be, because at the end of the day, that's what I do for a living, right? If I'm full-time footballer, I'm a professional, I should be sustained by my craft. And I could understand that would be a real difficult thing for a young man, trying to live off something that doesn't seem to provide that stability at this moment.
Steve, I think we're almost back to the days where when you and I played for the national team, and we were given chicken and chips and a solo after we played. I don't know if you remember those days.
I caught some of those days.
We were given a chicken and chips and a solo, and I remember Eric James one time looked at me and he said, "Henderson, you were on the bench." And I didn't get.
So you guys chips?
I didn't get the chicken and chips. The thing that we have to bring into play is the monetary situation, and there's no question that was addressed in the press conference about the debt that we are now carrying. Tony Alford went into some details about it. And he feels that there is going to be a significant debt, somewhere between $40 and $60 million, when everything is brought out into the open about the state where we are right now. Now, what I heard, and I would like to latch on to that sounded very promising to me, is that
the
they were
promise
not
of
afraid of the debt because they feel that they
promise
have
of private
enterprise
of finances,
ready to take care of that debt. Now, is that just an election ploy? Who knows? Because many promises are made on the campaign trail. But it's nice to hear people still want to come into a situation where they want to be administrators in football when there's such a large debt to get rid of. In addition, there may be more people out there who may make claims against the Ttfa that we have not heard about.
That's right.
I think Jack Warner still is one who says his debt hasn't been calculated or added to the debt. So there's a lot of information that we still need to get. Yes, there's a large debt that is going to be revealed when the books are finally there for viewing in detail, but it seems that there's hope in that either local and foreign or combination of the two investors are willing to clear off that debt for the sake of Trinidad and Tobago football.
You know, you forget to tell them we upgrade from soft drink to shandy the next day, right? Okay. The people I'm sorry for is really the players, because I cannot see myself, because our fight is against time. The players' fight is against time. And they only have that much time to play this game. So when bad administration prevent me from playing football or take my time up and mess it up, then that's bad. So, you know, I don't know what to say with it, but the finger points directly to administration, doesn't it?
Well, it has to. I mean, because it's only logical. In any sphere of society, if you have a product, we're talking about football, football has an administrative arm to it. And nothing that goes on the field takes place in isolation of the administrators. So obviously, it has to go back to the administrator. If the senior team had won the Gold Cup and all the junior teams win the tournament, who was going to take the praise for it? Not the administrators? So it has to be applied across the board in whatever state the football is. And presently, we all know what the state of football is, so the administrators have to take the flak for that. There's no way around it. Absolutely no way around it.
Yeah. Continuing on Steve's point, the players, and I say obviously, are the ones who are losing the most. This is what they do. Taking, let's take the view of these young men who would have lost an opportunity of playing in an Olympic tournament. Now, these are guys who aren't yet fully in your senior team, right? So they won't go into the Gold Cup. They would have had international football to play this year. We always talk about the importance of international football in the development of young players. This is an opportunity lost that cannot be regained for those players.
Yep.
We will play another Olympic tournament,
with fresh
we believe,
players,
but not those guys, right? Judah Garcia and whoever the crop, they've lost that. That is not coming back. Right? And I'm saying this is the way I see it. This is not just, well, you know, we didn't have the money, so we're not going to do that. That's robbing a generation of an opportunity. You know?
But Jeff, when you have so many irons in the fire as an administrator, and you have fires to out, you have this fire to out and this fire and this court case to go, it is difficult to then supervise preparation and technical matters on the field when all you're doing is out in fires. All you're doing is out in fires.
Agreed.
And that is where I feel our administration has been at fault, in that we are losing the crux of governance.
Right.
How we govern as a group, and how do we make sure that committees that have been assigned and departments that have been assigned to various aspects of the association are kept functioning.
I agree with you 100%, and that is what an administration responsibility is, yes? But if you come into office now and I have 3 months, I would see that as being something that you would not have been prepared for. But being in office for how much now?
3 years.
3 years, right? These things don't come up suddenly. They don't come. I know that there's going to be an Olympic qualification. I might know the date, but I know in the next, 2 years, we're going to have that on our hands. And I think that speaks to that whole process. Now, mentioned in the press conference, and again, that's something I'm excited to see what is going on. If you have these kind of guys willing to take the bull by the horn, so to speak, having an idea what that financial burden is, then I agree with you again, that's encouraging. All right, let's see how that goes. But clearly, that is something that has to be addressed to avoid these gaps in our development, because that's going to tell on us, when we begin qualification again.
All right, guys, we need to take a break. Viewers, we'll be right back.
There are moments when change must be pursued, and that time is now. There are moments when change must be pursued, and that time is now. David John Williams' continued ineptitude is having a negative effect that has debilitated football in Trinidad and Tobago. Our young players need the correct environment to improve and to grow. The current Ttfa leadership is incapable of providing such. David John Williams has demonstrated beyond doubt that he cannot improve the reputation of Ttfa or instill trust among potential sponsors and stakeholders in Trinidad and Tobago. I believe that the establishment of a united administration is of huge importance to lead the Ttfa out of the current mess that has made us a laughingstock among our rivals. End of quote. I also have a written statement here, from Maylie Attin-Johnson, former, she needs no introduction, just like Kelvin Jack, former national captain. Quote, "It is extremely imperative that the persons given the responsibility to run football in our country has the ability, aptitude, experience, knowledge, and humility to proper execute this responsibility to improve the inefficiencies plaguing our football. In the past, football in our country has experienced difficult times, but never as woeful and disastrous as the present. This current administration has taken our football beyond the depths of despair. Its members have acted in ways that have undermined and destroyed the bedrock of the sport in our country. If any of these men and women have any pride and patriotism, they will do the honorable thing and step down and allow for the rebuilding process to begin. Sport in itself is a powerful vehicle, and by extension, football. It is a sport that had a powerful impact on my life. It is heartbreaking knowing that the next generation of players will be deprived of fulfilling their dreams and the opportunities of representing our national teams because of the incompetence and dictatorship of this administration." End of quote.
Okay, welcome back. I want you guys to put on Keith Lucloy hat. That means no politics, guys. Straight up answer the question. Do you think this is the lowest our football ever got, or in conjunction, is this the worst administration we ever had?
In my short recollection on the playing field, definitely this is the lowest that we have gotten, both in terms of results and what I consider to be the technical ability of the players. So my short answer to that part is yes. It is the lowest that I have seen.
I'll have to go with a yes. Now, again, one of the things that will always be directly impacting the football itself is the ease or the comfort with which players can carry out their function, right? And I think that has been greatly affected by the lack of resources, which is a responsibility of the administration, and that has been in shambles for quite some time. So I'll have a good yes.
And I will definitely say yes, because I've been involved in the governance aspect of TNTFA for a very long time. And if you have a poor foundation with your governance, and the foundation of the governance of TNTFA is zonal football. Don't let anybody fool you otherwise.
That's right.
If your zones are strong
Your
and your
national
zonal
teams
administrators are strong, your T and Ttfa is strong. And zones have been crying out in the wilderness, not just through John Williams' administration.
Timki too.
For the last 10 years, the zones have been sinking. The foundation has been sinking in the sand. And the zone structure, the strong zones lead to a strong governance at what was formerly the General Council, now is the General Assembly and the new T and Ttfa. The stronger the zones are, the stronger your governance is, the stronger your football is, because you're coming from a broader pyramid into elite football at the top.
So let me ask this question in another way, because I didn't get a real straight, hard answer, especially from Larry and Jefferson. I kind of got it from Albert. Is football better today than it was 2 or 3 years ago?
The short answer is no.
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 And we blame administration for that, don't we?
You have to blame the people who are in charge of the product.
Right.
The product don't just put itself out there. There are people at the head who make the decision. So the answer is yes.
Okay. So would we support, or again, more questions to you, would we support the new administration or the potential new administration to take us out the doldrums into brighter future?
I support nobody until I see their plans and hear what their plans say.
And I support nobody until I myself see if you are better than who you're trying to replace.
Yes.
Because lip service does nothing to me. I have been traumatized by Trinidad and Tobago politicians and administrators.
Who are politicians?
So, yeah. And the more they go in front of the camera, it seems to be the worse they get when they get into positions. So all that was said before, that's fine. That's very nice sounding to the ears. I want to see you, if you get there, when you hit the ground, what you're actually doing. Because I just always tell people, when you're on this side of the counter, you are a customer. But if you cross over, you see it differently.
In September, we are supposed to know the plans and the strategic plans of this coalesced group. What I liked and what I was happy to hear and what was promised even with John Williams' administration was that there was going to be, the public was going to be part of that consultation.
Mm-hmm.
And if the public is not part of that consultation, and if the public does not buy into that consultation, our football will go nowhere, and we will continue to see scanty crowds, if we could call it a crowd, scanty people in the stands. The public has to buy in to the situation, and you cannot get your public to buy in unless you have consultations with your public.
True.
And just before you take it up, I'm sure the present administration was hoping very strongly that the senior team could have eased the pressure on them by having a successful run at the Gold Cup competition. That was not so. So everything is even more exposed now.
I would like to say that there is, while we would not know what the outcome would be, all right, because I was very optimistic when John Williams was elected, I have to say that. But what I am more encouraged by, as I said, is the view or the approach of this group that held the press conference. Moving an administration is not so important for me, but is what are we doing with our football, as Doc mentioned. It's not 2 years, not 3 years, not 4 years. We have been spiraling slowly at first, but I mean, we're now feeling the effects of it. But this didn't just happen. And I think if we are to fix things, it must be done in a holistic manner where this group seems to be challenging us, right? We would see come September when they lay out their initial plans, and I hope included in that will be, as Doc said as well, some sort of real effort to maintain that connection with the communities, with the regional associations and so on, and also with the respective governing bodies.
Don't forget, guys, the election happens before the body gets into office. So we have to decide before whether we want this body to go. We can't wait until to see them at work. So this has happened before. So we see John Williams' administration at work, but the new generation or the new group, we're not going to see them unless they get voted into office. So are we prepared to go with them?
Yeah, well, Steve, John Williams may look at this program and he may decide, hey, let me go. I'll use that an analogy in my own profession. He may decide, let me go to a real doctor this time and fix some of the things that have been a disease with me. And I'll fix the problem and I'll bring in some new people. He may look at Jefferson and Larry and say, two young fellas who are bright and smart, let me bring them in, they have credibility. He may bring in some other people, and people may say, hey, I like what John Williams is doing, but he realized he was wrong, he's changing what he's doing, and he's bringing in good people. Then we have a fight on our hands. So we have to wait and see, and the battle, like the bigger battle in the big picture between the red and the yellow, this is going to be a big battle as well.
Let me see how you guys going to get out of this one. Who would you vote for today if you had to vote?
I could take up the mic and walk up the set.
If we had a vote, this Saturday, I would start and I would give you the answers you don't like. I really would not be able to vote today, because now, let me give you some pros with the group holding the conference. One thing that I said I've been encouraged by, for men of that caliber to come together, it's not something that it's not often we see that, right? Men, Tony Harford, William Wallace, these are guys who come together after administration is formed and they're working on something, right? But to come together in an effort to do something where everybody has recognized we are in a crisis and their response to the crisis is that we must band together, I'm saying if we can hold on to that model rather than one person believing that I have the idea of fixing Trinidad and Tobago football, I think that's something that I can vote for. That's my long answer.
All right, I'll take you guys off of the hot seat now. So let's go back to the press conference. Who impressed you the most in that press conference as to their little part that they had to say? Talk about it.
Well, I would, just to be jovial, I think some of the questions that was coming from some of the media corps who impressed me the most. All the people at the head table are long-standing members in the football fraternity. I know there has been talk, and I agree with some of it, is that Keith himself has come with a tainted reputation, whether it's because of his approach, he's considered rather brash and crude at times, shoot from the hip type of person, right? So even though he may dispense relevant information, his image and reputation is not one that a lot of people would be attracted to.
But he's not going to run for president.
Yeah, I know. But he was the spokesman who he said they had agreed that he would be. So by default, he was their leader on the night. And then you have a past president of the Football Association, Mr. Timke, who was a right-hand man of Jack Warner. Some people may have reservations about him because of that connection. And I think it's only because of the disillusionment of the present administration that people are desperate. They just want change. You understand what I mean? They just want change, and they haven't really drilled down to what that change should involve and will involve. It's a lot more than just not liking a president, you know. There's a lot more. This thing is a heavy, heavy load. And what we see in terms of the product, which is the Trinidad and Tobago jersey on the different age groups, is really the easy part of the administration, you know. You know, because it's a football administration, you play football, but the behind the scenes, there's a whole lot of people who have to take up the responsibility and take it up with an ethical approach. And I think that's the problem that we suffered with in the football fraternity. I think we have not always had people with real strong moral fibers leading the charge. And so we've ended up always having problems with that, especially if the results don't go in our favor. You know, so again, for me, I'm dissatisfied with the present regime in how they're running the local football. But at the same time, I'm not going to blindly support just lip service as to what other people are offering as the solution. Because some of the people don't have such a good track record themselves in other spheres.
All right.
They have been part of organizations that have not always been. So what has changed?
All right, I'll take a break, and when I come back, I hear what Alvin has to say about it. He's pretty quiet, and also Jefferson. Viewers will be right back. Stay tuned.
That there are people who are saying that we have an agenda. And yes, I want the media to know that we have an agenda. I want the people of Trinidad and Tobago to know that we have an agenda. And the agenda is to bring back some sanity to Trinidad and Tobago football. That is the agenda.
The NFA has decided to join this cause because we are convinced that good leadership has completely evaporated in Trinidad and Tobago, good leadership of football. We also feel that there is very little chance of the current leadership recovering from the present position. We believe that they lack the skill, we believe that they lack the imaginative ideas to take us into the 21st century. In fact, I would go as far as saying that maybe they have even fossilized on the job.
If we sit on the Ttfa board, as the body responsible for the development of women's game locally, it is baffling that we neither play an active role in decision-making regarding the National Women's Program, nor are we even privy to decisions made until we hear it through a third party, which may be the media or the press like yourself.
Okay, welcome back, viewers. All right, guys. Let's branch off because I know you guys don't want to get too deep into this, but the overall or the thing of it all is the people who's going to miss out that I'm concerned about is the generation that's playing football now. So we do need to get the best administration possible. And there's a lot of good people out there. If you guys want to weigh in on who you think are good. If not, tell me what can we do. Give us some suggestions that we can look forward to that can educate the viewers who might have a vote or anybody else that we can look forward to make this work for us, because we cannot keep spiraling downwards.
I have some suggestions. And there are a couple of things that I would like to see that I did not see enough of on the podium. Yes, we saw one female who was in charge of Wolf, and she spoke on behalf of the Women's League for the most part. But women's football, as we saw from the World Cup recently, is now a huge factor all over the world. And to tell you the honest truth, we have said it on this program before, it's probably easier for a women's team of Trinidad and Tobago to make a World Cup than a men's. I feel that we need to see in administration more women involved. So I'd like to see more women involved, and I'd like to see younger people involved. You know, people in my age bracket, or just maybe a little younger than we are, we have given our time and effort and whatnot and our ideas. Fresh, new ideas need to be coming forth from younger people. The two men to my left are what I speak of. Need to be coming from younger people. They look at the world different. Technology is different. The methods by which they can carry out some of the things that will help us in our governance is different. So I'd like to see more women involved in the panel of administration of football, and I'd like to see more young people involved with their technological ideas in the administration of football.
I would, together with the docs qualification, I would like to just tag on people of an honest dispensation. I put a high value on honesty.
I think my reason for optimism is the approach, right? As Doc mentioned, there's nobody new in that. Probably the only person I'm not familiar with is was the president of the Central Cosine, right? But everybody else, they've been there, been around for quite some time. My real thing is that if we can change the way that football has been run, right? They're being to Holland to do the international course in 2008, somewhere around there. They have, every year they have this conference where all football persons convene twice for the year. And this is from grassroots level to your professional level, right? 2 days, they have conference, they have a topic, and they go through it. And this is everybody. Van Basten was in charge at the time, who was, for us, he's an icon. There he was an icon as well, but they had some real issues with his ego and stuff. They actually put a little committee in place just to manage information going to him and that type of stuff. But that collaborative effort, I think we cannot overlook. Again, I say we're too small to be so fragmented. We can't have our football run by just 4 or 5 people. That's not enough. That's not going to cut it. And I think that the method or whatever they're putting together has to be something that we use as a model going forward, where more involvement from everybody.
And again, that's a breath of fresh air, because everybody coming together and trying to do all the dirty work and select one person that they support to be that. So my vote has to go into that group, because it's collectively, there's about 3 people who wants to be president in that group. And if they can give up their opportunity or their part of wanting to be president and just want to be on the slate collectively to take this through, it can't be wrong. It can't be bad.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, because you're hoping that in that type of model you have a lot more accountability, right? And there's some strong personalities as well. It's not to say that you have anybody there who's just going to be, dragged along. So I think that is what we're hoping to get out of, these types of collaborative efforts. You have more accountability, where it's sort of built into that group.
Well, I heard a term being used in the press conference. I don't know if it was as loud as I heard it, but I like the idea. It was a round table, a round table group. But despite all, with round table groups, there's always a King Arthur.
Always.
Always a King Arthur. So you have to have a leader of quality coming from the group, even though the group may be round table in scope.
All right. One more question before we go. Would you like to see change?
I definitely would like to see change, because we are heading downwards at a rapid rate. And it reminds me of the aircraft that they're trying to fix now. If we continue to head in that direction, we're not going to see good things. Right. Yes. And we are crashing, and it's time to change. As I said before, John Williams has to look at himself in the mirror recognize that, hey, something is wrong, I'm not doing things right, and see how he can change. And this group definitely will need to carry out change if they eventually get into office as they hope to be.
How about you, Larry? Would you like to see change?
Yes, and the answer to that is yes. I can't sit here and see the state of football as it is and say I don't want change. Yes, loudly I want it to change, whether it has to be through a change of administration or the present administration changing, but change has to take place.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's a resounding yes. Going back to a point Doc made, it may be change where the current president decides, well, I'm getting this wrong, let me fix it. And because of whatever changes will be done or may be done, if the change comes about that way, then so be it. But change is a must. Right? At this point, we definitely need it.
And remember, the president has a hope for the future. His home of football is a huge hope that he has hung his hat on. And if managed successfully, can be something that Trinidad will never see again in the next 100 years.
Okay, well, obviously, we're hoping for the best for our younger footballers coming up. We do want to see our football spiral the other direction. We want to make sure that we stay abreast of all the things that's happening, and whatever we can do, I'm sure we would, to see things better. Football cannot continue the way it is. It's not going to work. I do want to see, like you guys said, a change in administration, a change in attitude, a change in whatever. And I'm not here to select who or to pick anybody, but I do want to see change. And let's see what's going to happen. Hey, I want to thank you guys for being here. It's very, very enlightening. And I sure the viewers now have a clear picture on what things are like and what they would hope for. ACTN, thanks for giving us the opportunity. And viewers, thank you for tuning in every Monday night, and we do repeat on a Tuesday at 1 o'clock. You can drop us a line on our email address, fieldofdreamstt@gmail.com. And we do have a Facebook page. You can always go there and check us out, and you can drop us a line there as well. And again, thank you for viewing. The show is ended. Go in peace. My name is Steve David. Good night.